All right, finally, ladies and gentlemen, we come to our final session of the day. Sometimes called angels, sometimes dragons, and sometimes sharks. They are one of the most sought after folks in the business. Combining knowledge with money, we'd like to call upon Mr. Leon Tan, CEO of Dragon Slate Media, to introduce his esteemed panelist.
Hi, everyone. This is the last session, so we hope to pep things up a bit. Guys, I want this to be very interactive and very relaxed. And if you want to, I'll even take off my jacket. Don't worry about it. So we have an interesting session tonight, this evening, hoping to cap today's sessions with a bang. We are talking about two things. First of all is venture capital. The crazy guys who come in first and invest in things that in many ways aren't exactly established or even exist in our world. But without venture capitalists, you wouldn't get your Googles and your Facebooks and so forth. And also, we're going to talk about the future of media entertainment or filmed entertainment, particularly in the digital media world. I have here three gentlemen whom we promise an interesting discussion. On my extreme right is Mr. Alexander Shulgin. Did I get it right? Yep. Alex is, for the last 15 years or so, and probably longer than that, Alex has been described as a futurist, a visionary, a guy who puts investments in areas that what we would consider to be futuristic. In not just media and entertainment, but also in other growing technology industries. He's particularly interested in virtual reality, augmented reality, esports, all the kind of stuff that you and I would look at with great fascination and wonder if that's the future. Well, I think Alex has seen the future, and perhaps he shall share some of it with us today. Then we have John Liu. John's been a investment professional and also has made headlines recently, raising substantial capital to invest heavily into China, especially in film and television. And we would be interested to hear his views on what digital media would mean in China, and also the lasting impact of digital media in China to the rest of the world. And finally, we have Justin Damien. In many ways, without Justin, we wouldn't have these sessions. His organization, Sava, and he's also the managing director of Aurora Global Media Capital, who also invests in slates of film and television. It'll be very interesting to see his perspective as a homegrown Singaporean investor/producer, and his view of digital media, both in our backyard and into the world. So, welcome, gentlemen. Okay, my first question, basically, in digital media today, there's been a lot of discussion about where would be the future. Would the future be in the platform that delivers digital media, or is it the content itself, right? And maybe we're not even asking the real questions, to be honest. So I'd like to pose this question to Alex, who spent the last 15, 20 years looking at what the future might be for our industry. Alex, what do you think about this debate between investments in digital media platforms versus digital media content? Where do you think it's going to be, or is it somewhere else?
I strongly believe that the term, all of you know this term, content is king, will be strong again. And I believe that no third party between creators and content will exist. So no platform, only smart contracts. Only smart contract will be driven by this new ecosystem, which will be no platform, no any other services. And if someone know what means Internet of Things, maybe you heard about this IoT, Internet of Things, which is will be connect more than 500-600 billion devices in the next 5 years. All your cars and electronics and home and your shoes and your bags and everything will be connected or interconnected with you, with your friends, between themselves, each other. So there is a new ecosystem will be appear. It will be the name. It's the Internet of Content. So every single file, it will be completely as a new kind of files, not like MPEG, or not like MP3 or all these granddaddies, but it will be new like .bc files, which is created just a year ago. So this file will contain a lot of smart contract inside. So the content is smart contract inside. So, and this is every single content will be, first of all, connected with audience, with the ecosystem. They need to be centralized. It will be completely decentralized, the world. And the second is very important, is they can be connected with each other to create a new content, which means it will be many files will be created new contents together. So it's files will be created during the stream. So it will be absolutely streamed 24/7. And during the stream, you will be create the content. And if you make an open IP, so your friends or any other to whom you allowed, they will be co-create the content together with you. So it will be not pre-production or post-production things. And it's very, very, very good. And I also not believe in VR and AR. I strongly believe in mixed reality. It's called mixed reality or extended reality, merged reality. So this is content and the content world will be part of this mixed reality. And this will be possible, the new technology called decentralized technology, called blockchain technology.
Just following on that, as an investor in new ideas, what is your approach when you look at, in our topic, say, about digital media? What is your approach? How do you mitigate risk? How do you find value? Where do you see it? And how do you basically, obviously you're in a situation where you're a futurist, but as an investor, you are locked down by, shall I say, conservative approaches because you need to get your money back. So what is your approach?
When you invest in something which does not exist yet, you cannot base on analytics. Impossible. So you need to base on abstract, first of all, and your feelings. I compose music, and when I compose some piece, I say, oh, this piece have a harmony. Golden ratio or something like this, some harmony. So if you make a decision, you have to feel the same, like you say, oh, it's like a hit. So you need to feel it. And then you should go for this. That's it. So you feel, and then you make a decision. No, you don't have to be afraid. Sometimes when you're afraid, a lot of my friends was afraid to buy Bitcoin when it costs 190. And they now want to buy it for 11,000. So you don't have to be afraid these things, and make it like a games. So we all are kids. So how the kids learn the life? Playing the game. I don't mean casino, but playing the game, make it fun, be happy. This is much more important. When you are afraid, you're afraid. You are not happy.
I wish I met more investors like you, frankly. Moving on to John, you've gone to Wall Street and I'm sure other places. You've raised substantial capital, and you've announced that you're utilizing it heavily in in China especially, to make film, to make television, and I assume you are exploring the digital media space. How do you, in the same way as I asked Alex, how do you manage this investment and its risks and everything as you enter a place that is as exciting as China, but also for some it's also very daunting? What is your approach?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to introduce myself, John Liu. I'm a Chinese American. I lived in the United States for 30 years. I was educated in the physics from the University of California with a PhD, and also got a PhD in finance from Wharton School. Since then, I have been working Wall Street for close to 20 years. I worked with the Citibank for many years, worked with the Swiss Bank for many years, and worked with several hedge funds for several years. Essentially, in the banking, I'm the banker and also the hedge fund trader. And the last several years, we have set up basically the entertainment business. And we are not just the entertainment investor. We are the original content creator. We have both, the company set up in China and the United States. It's called Han Picture. And we are the producer of the movie and the TV series also. And we have more than 20 our own project in our pipeline. We're going to try to produce out and get distribution for the next 5 years. And in terms of the question he specifically asked for the investment. The entertainment is investment, especially the project-based investment, is very different from a lot, the investment in the Wall Street, like you trade equity, trade bond, trade other, derivatives. But the entertainment sector is very special because it's a lot of times a lack of transparency. And also, a lot of things is related to budget. Budget is kind of not fixed. For example, the one project, you come up like an action movie. Some people told me you need 50 million to make it. I say, you can make it 20 million. Why need 50 million? It's very simple, because we know very well, we know how to package the business. And also we know basically the detail of how the entertainment sector business. So I can calculate myself how much you need you produce that one. Because we produce our own movie also, produce our own TV series also. And also right now, I think the last couple of days, you guys know that, a lot of information is come out related to entertainment project. For example, you can use the big data. You can use artificial intelligence to build the system, to make a judgment for TV, for the movie, for live show. What kind of market will it look like? How much investment you need to do that? So it's kind of very easy from all perspectives. From project management perspective, it's kind of easy to control the risk. Because, of course, you have to know that, how you can do that, and how can you do the detailed calculation. That's the key thing, we think.
Thank you. Justin, you are Singaporean, you're at home, right? And you ventured into building a media fund that invests not only in traditional media, but also in new digital media. Mm-hmm. What is your view of basing it here, making it here in the region, the markets and the opportunities and the pitfalls?
Well, a little bit of context for what we do at Aurora is that we look at not just the content and the IPs, the underlying IPs that drive the content. We look at the entire infrastructure, the whole value chain. So we don't just look at coming in for your production or working with the producers on creating something. We look at the platforms, we look at the distribution companies, we look at the actual production houses, we look at the development houses, our development agencies. A lot of what we do comes from understanding the entire value chain, because once you understand the value chain, it gives you that much more exposure, it gives you that much more control over what you're doing, and it also creates exponential returns for you as well. So one of the things that we look at when we work with anyone, and one of the reasons why we look in Southeast Asia quite a bit, and why we base ourselves out of Southeast Asia, is because the opportunity is here to actually build an infrastructure. You go to India, the infrastructure is already being controlled by some major studios. You go to China, it's already being built. You go to US, forget about it, it's already being controlled. You go to Europe, the government's got its hands in it. In Southeast Asia, it is a fragmented market. It's a market with entrepreneurial spirits as well. We don't just look at something from, oh, you're Indonesian, you are Malaysian, you are Filipino. We look at everything. Everybody's a Southeast Asian. How do you do inter-regional work together? So no matter whether you're based in Singapore or Malaysia, it's not hard for us to find a way to make a structure work in terms of investment or production even, or even distribution, because we see things as a regional in a regional context, not just in a country context. And you don't see that very often in other markets. In India, for example, how does it work in India? How does it work in China? It's like what we are talking about right now. But in Southeast Asia, we actually have an opportunity to look at where we are right now as a huge marketplace and consolidate the infrastructure, and that's where we see the opportunity. The reason why I'm based out of Singapore, it's one reason I live here, but the second reason is also because there's a strong financial backbone in Singapore as well, a strong legal backbone in Singapore as well. There's a strong legal IP protection framework in Singapore as well, which are all strong pillars to what we do in the financing world.
So given your approach, connecting all these elements before you make a decision in investment and in supporting the investment, I know because you're also a producer. When you look at something as amorphous as digital media, when you see digital media appear in YouTube and Amazon and Netflix and iFlix and so on and so forth, where do you see your involvement or your participation in pushing the whole digital media frontier forward? And especially mitigating the risks.
First,
the unknown.
We do things from, that's why we look at everything from the IP perspective. That's for producers out here, when you come to us, we don't just talk about, okay, you need to finish up your production, okay, how much do you need? It doesn't make sense for us because if we give you $1 million, it's $1 million that could be used to build an IP, which it's used to build a company, it's used to build an enterprise, while putting $1 million into one project doesn't build that. It builds just an equity involvement into a project. So it's how we use the capital that we have. That's the one thing. Secondly, what we do is we look at the huge amount of content libraries that's available and rights available in Southeast Asia that's not been monetized yet, very simply because producers over the last few years, a lot of them, especially independent producers, they don't know how to monetize their content. They probably monetize it for maybe the licensing for a year or two, or they get commissioned, but they don't know what to do with the rights after that, and they just don't do anything with it. We look at huge libraries. We sometimes look at buying up the libraries, and with that library and that access to content, we can easily work with existing infrastructures, or we can build new kinds of infrastructures based on that library. There are many ways for us to work with existing or building up infrastructure, and that's why we are unique in the sense that's why we are one of the few or only content VCs in Southeast Asia. We work very closely with the tech VCs in this part of the world as well, because a lot of the tech VCs, a lot of my friends who run them, they know that the one thing that's missing in the way they do things and they invest in companies as well is that they don't have that engagement factor. They don't have the content in there. They don't have the X factor to grow their companies exponentially. And that's why they want to partner with content creators and branding companies and all these kind of things. So going back to the very first thing that Alex said from the top of the panel was that content is king. It is. It's a big wild card. You use content to open up doors in industries that you wouldn't normally get a look in as a content creator. It's just how you use that content.
Thanks. Coming back to you, John. As an investor and a producer, where do you see China's role in digital media? And how do you intend to harness these opportunities?
Well, I guess everyone knows, China market becomes so important now. The growth is pretty fast. You would expect maybe 5 to 10 years will become the similar size as the United States. It's a lot of opportunity. And also, here the Asia, TV forum, everybody talk about how potential we can export the Asia content, China content to the global. I think is a great opportunity because after the economic growth, the entertainment sector will pick up very quickly. And you can see that China lost 5 years from basically, about number 10, the box office revenue become now the number 2. Basically the far away to the Japanese market. So you can see that, that is the trend. You will see that, also demand for the content also, high quality content. There's a lot of opportunity, not just for Chinese company, also for global market also, global player also, to get a pleasure role in the Chinese market also.
Thank you. That said, John, we've also read in the news or heard from people who've been involved that just as great the opportunity that exists in China, many people have also gone in and didn't do well. They failed. What are your thoughts on avoiding the pitfalls or guarding ourselves as we look at these opportunities and going to China?
Let's put two ways. First thing, let's say, look at the first time China opened the door in 1978. A lot industry from the basic industry company from United States and also from Europe came to China. Initially, they wanted to just set up a shop over there, basically manufacture based in China. And later on, as the China market picked up, they see a lot of opportunity. Like a lot of basically first 500 SAP company, they now have a big operation in China, not just production, not just manufacturing. They have a marketing team, basically everything, just like a very big subsidiary, take care of the Chinese market. So I'm not sure where you get the statistics. Those foreign company, doesn't make a lot of money in China. I would say it's the opposite. You look at the Citibank, those kind of company, the 500 SP company, they have a big operation in China. I'm pretty much sure they make a lot of money in China. And also similarly, for entertainment sector, China basically essentially just opened the door the last 3-5 years gradually. But you will see that you will have more opportunity for a lot of players. For example, the big 6 studio in the United States, they are very eager to get into China. They want to get distributed in China. Why? Because they make a lot of money. You look at the box office revenue, more than 70% of the highest revenue, box office revenue for the film is by the Hollywood made. I think they make a lot of money. Only thing they're playing just too much restriction, too much regulation. That's the only thing. I think that will gradually change. Just like, China opened the door for economic reform, they will gradually change also. Gradually open the door also.
So where do you see digital media in China? And how can we, as people who don't live in China, and we know there are issues, as you say, that China does have a sort of a closed border policy in terms of how it regulates content, and people who make can't take their profits. It's hard to move money out of China and things like that. How do you see, for those of us who see digital opportunities, hopefully in China, how do you mitigate these things? How do you?
Well, I guess one easy way, of course, if you find the reliable partner in China, they know China well. Digital media, especially like movie, TV series, it's not one company you can finish it. You need a partner. For example, our company, we are not just using the partner in China. Basically, we use the partner globally. We are movie, each budget, the minimum $20 million can go above 100 million. So we need a lot of partner. That's at least one way, at the current situation, you can benefit from the growth of the Chinese digital media.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alex, coming back to you, can you fish out your crystal ball and tell us, in the world of digital media, what would you invest in right now? Sorry? What would you invest in right now?
Now, in the world of digital media,
what excites you? What interests
this year, the 2017, I invest in 2 companies, which is blockchain technology, decentralized technology for media. And why I invest? Because both of them have 2, and another company 3 global patent for this technology or format and everything, which is very important for this. So that's why I invest to this company, which is young and fresh, but they already have very important asset, which is a patent. Why? Because especially in blockchain, if you just put in your smart contract this patent, you cannot reject it, or you cannot jump it. It's like in our physical internet world, you just make a lot of Just forget about the patent. In the blockchain, it's impossible. So this is too related to media company I invest in 2017.
It's interesting that you said patents and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, intellectual property rights still govern the way we make decisions on investment, I would say. No matter how futuristic the promise or the service or the content or the platform would be, right? I think it's very important for us because at the end of the day, these are the things that don't change. It's an evergreen factor in the way we invest. You know? Alex, you mentioned that you do invest in things around the world, but of late you've been keeping an eye on Asia and hopefully bringing some of these things here or linking up.
Of
Asia.
course.
Yeah. Tell us about
First
this.
of all, the Asia, it's or East, or let's say East Asia, it's a huge opportunity. And not because of so many people live there. The emerging market, and in many areas, greenfield, and ready to risk, and ready to experiment, which is difficult to make in the conservative market, as the Western world is. So they're ready and open to any other new technology, open for the new way for the new life, for the new lifestyle. It's very important things. And also, the Asia will need so much consumption of energy, especially in media, because this will be the future of media monetization will be of data mining. And everything will be data mining around the content and data science. So it's if now, in many countries, the existing banks, existing old business, let's say established business like banks or commodities business, industrial business, support culture or support content. So in, let's say in 15 years, everything which is related to content will be support the infrastructure like a smart city or smart factory. They will need this. And so all content will be supported. So it will be vice versa. So everything will be changed. So, but for this, you need a huge computing power. And computing power will need, let's say, if we will talk about the decentralized system, so like Ethereum, now consumption of Ethereum near the state called Cyprus. And the blockchain technology needs Denmark. So this is a huge will be consumption of energy for this, and this is how we can help it work together, not only of investment, but also this can be a smart energy money. This is important.
Great insight. Thanks, Alex. Do we have an opportunity to open up to the audience to ask our esteemed guests?
Can I add one more thing?
Oh yeah, sure, John. Please go ahead.
This is the Asia, TV forum. I think it is very important, for Asia eventually, can, basically transmit the culture, Asian culture, and the value to the West and the global. It is very important because yesterday, basically, answered the question also. I think, the Asia have a long and rich history and the culture, Although the last 200 years, Asia is kind of lack in the global, the growth and the basic global, the standards. But I think the China and Asia is rising now. As Alex just mentioned, Asia have more than 60% of the global world population. It is the biggest market, and also we should produce high quality, TV and movie for the global market, not just for the local market. That's the way you can raise the bar and the standard for the Asia whole entertainment sector.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, John. Is there a way to have us to have questions from the floor? I mean, is there a microphone? Okay, great. Yes, gentlemen.
It looks like not so many people interested in money. I like Singaporean.
Okay, here comes the asking for money right now. Yeah. Could you
So
please,
this
could,
question-
could you please state your name and where you're from and who you're addressing?
I'm Abhijit Kolatkar. I'm a producer of web content as well as feature films. I come from India. And this question is for all of you guys who are kind of providing structured investment into the media market. My question is, there is no recipe or no secret sauce in terms of producing a successful movie. So as investors, what are the kind of things that you typically, you shared some of your ideas, but given there's no guaranteed success on any one of those specific projects, apart from doing multiple projects at a time, is there anything else that you're looking at?
There's no guaranteed formula for sure, yes. There's no guarantee formula for anything in life, that I would say. But what I would say is that what we do as funds is that we have a methodology to de-risk, and as much as you can hit as much as our checklist for de-risking, that is the best way forward. Going into this, we never look for anything. We know there's no sure thing in anything to do with investment. If there is, it wouldn't be an investment, it will be a loan. And yes, we've done loans before, but only secured loans. So we know that there's no thing, but in terms of looking at how the checklist would look like in terms of de-risking, it's usually a much more in-depth discussion, but in general, we'll probably look at the whole package. You know, what do you have in terms of what's the budget? Is relative to the rest of the budget ranges in your territory, what kind of market are you looking at? Are you looking at a local market? Are you looking at a regional or international market? What's the genre of what you're doing? What's the performance of this genre in this? And then we go down to the cast. You know, if you're doing a Hollywood film, the cast would probably be a little bit higher up in the list for us. But if you're looking at something regional, maybe if you're doing a Bollywood film, yes, the cast would still matter. But if, let's say, you're doing a Marathi film or something, a regional film, maybe the cast won't matter to me as much, but maybe the genre will matter a bit more to me if it's a romance film. Things like this changes in terms of different territories and markets that we're looking at, but essentially it comes down to budget versus possible revenue streams and what is the dangers in the middle and what's stopping me from making the maximum profit out of your film. One of the early things I look at is your background as a producer. Do you have output deals available with certain broadcasters or buyers? What's your relationship with certain distributors? What's your marketing plan as well? You know, so all these little X factors comes in. And if, let's say, every checklist that we have, you fill it up, we won't say that, we want to get a formula from you. Are you sure you're going to make the money back for us? We won't keep asking you this. It's also, the onus is on us to make that decision at the end of the day. But as much as you work with us in de-risking your project, as well as investors, we do work with the producer in saying, okay, can we change this? Can we do this? Can we do that? If you work with us on that, I think at the end of the day, you have a good shot on getting the investment.
Thank you. I actually have a small follow-up question on that one. As a producer, from an investor, I am also looking at you bringing a kind of ecosystem. The second part of what you just said about finding the right distributors, finding the right exploitation of the content that we're producing. Is this the kind of value that you're looking at providing along with the investment that you're bringing on board?
So that's a second part of our business that we do as well. We structure some things like this as pre-sales. So we pre-buy certain rights to your film, and then it's up to us to make the money back, for example. So the onus is then on us to... So for example, if we think your film can do 2 million in a certain territory, we may offer maybe 1.2, 1.5 million for that territory, and then whatever we make is our profit margin, for example, and any kind of upside that we get, it's all ours. The value to you is that you fill up your budget from the start and you make a little bit of profit from there as well. So that's the second part of our business, and that comes from because my team and myself, we are all producers, we know the industry, but if let's say you go to a film fund or a general investment fund, or maybe a high net worth individual who's looking to invest in film, he may not have that network or that background to know how to monetize your content. And he may just look at it as a pure investment or a loan. So that's one way that you may prefer looking, because some producers prefer to distribute their own projects or have a preferred distributor they work with. So they may not want an investor to hold on to certain rights that they have. So we do that as well. It's not always my preferred method on certain films. I do it on smaller films, especially on slate levels, or especially Southeast Asian films, because I have certain output deals in Southeast Asia that I can service quite easily. Together with, so my relationships with certain buyers are much stronger than I know other producers are. So I know I can make the producer more money than the producer himself can make for me. So it depends on where, but I wouldn't go to China right now or to Taiwan and right now and say, oh, I can make a deal better than you can in your own country. You know, that's one of the things that I work with some producers on. I want to know how strong they are as producers in certain territories, but different models for different people. We are quite flexible in how we do things.
Short of hogging the session, can I ask one question to Alex? And is there somebody
yes,
else?
well, we're running out of time, so and a few other people who may. So, could you?
We can ask.
We can come back to you, or yeah, if we can. Thanks.
Александр, давайте поговорим по-русски. Сколько денег вы готовы инвестировать?
Can you speak English?
Yes, please. Alex, my question is how much money you can invest in the project personally?
It's completely Russian question.
That's why I asked
How
you
much?
in Russian.
I think it's not a question. Is how much you need to invest in cash, because we don't invest only cash. We are not a bank. We try to be in some way partners. So our value is not only because we give a cash. When the people want from me only a cash, I don't want to talk with people like this, because we help for the project or the service or the company to become bigger, greater, successfully. And it's not only cash as a key point. So first of all, the second is it depends on the sector. If we talking about if I use a fund, have two funds as a tools for investment. The funds have their own check. So the fund have own check. There's everything written on the website. If I talk about if it's about my private and personal investment, this depends on the project. It depends, but personal, of course, not so big, because for the big check we have funds for this. So it's all depends on the project.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one question. One of the areas in digital media that we are experiencing a boom today is esports. Even governments have been involved in esports. So I know two of these gentlemen are interested in esports. I'll pick the guy right next to me as my first question. So what are you doing in the esports world, Justin, in digital media?
Okay, I mean, what we do in our fund is we invest in anything under the media and entertainment asset class. So that would include esports as well, not just as an events-based kind of thing. We look at the content section of esports. So we work with esports companies in creating content classes in what they're doing. So for example, the events that they do, we fund and produce some of the events that they do. We are actually funding the first ever format reality program for esports as well. Basically, the idea is that we know that esports is still under monetized, shamefully so. And one of the things that we see the opportunity in is how do we drive more engagement into monetizing esports in the short term and growing that strand. So one of the things we see that's lacking is content surrounding esports, because it's so localized in the US, in whatever country it happens in, because it's huge, but it's localized because it's all events. It's events-based. You have to be there physically. But one of the things that we don't see is content being shared, Asian content being seen by US esports gamers, and gamers in the US being seen by esports fans in in Southeast Asia or Asia. So one of the things that we're looking at is how do we create content as a way to bind this a new sector in this entertainment class for us.
Great. Alex, I know you've invested in esports. What's your take and what have you done?
No, I have two investments and already two exit. One is it's a team, but team which it's a multifunctional team. They make they organize. They have a platform. They organize event, make a tournament, and another it was TV channel, esport TV channel, and thanks God successful exits already. I want to add a little bit because there is a lot of TV producers here. So it's an exciting time because it will be huge transformation for this sector also. Can you, if you, someone from you saw in April Japanese Dentsu release advertisement, completely advertisement, which made by artificial intellect. Everything, just ideas, script, characters, made like in 1 second. And it was, if you say, let's say it was 8 from 10. So it's okay. So it's okay. And the book, which is written by artificial intellect, was 6 weeks #1 in the chart. And last month was artificial intellect wrote a song. And the song, I can tell you, just song is also 8 from 10. It's okay. So it's not maybe goosebumps, but it's completely great song. So to make it medium level production, it's already, I think, it will be big challenge, and the artificial intellect will disrupt everything. So it's maybe chance only for something really genius, But this is, please be prepared for this.
Excellent, good. I think time's up. Do we have some more time? Another question, maybe? Wow. Okay. Let's pick the lady at the back. Oh, sorry. Oh, you're talking to me. Okay. So how much time have we got left? Just one more? Okay. Gentleman in front.
There's a question to the panel. What is the typical or a minimum return on capital invested that you look for, below which the project won't be exciting to you? So if you invest in a project, what is your average return on capital invested that you need back for you to invest in a project?
Maybe I want to, my thoughts, certainly not this, I'm sure not the same as the others, but I approach media, IP, filmed entertainment investment as a portfolio, as a slate, right? So you pick 3 to 5 projects or whatever, and you hope that as you invest, because as Justin says, we can do all the homework, but it's never a sure thing. So it's better to invest in a spread as an investor and hope that, you invest in 5, maybe 1 or 2 won't break even, a couple will break even, and the 5th one will blow everybody out of the park, right? So we look at this as an investment of portfolios with an average rate of return. Now, every investor will have a different set of returns. And some of them invest for different reasons. I tell you, if an investor wants to invest in the film industry, he or she is already, 50% of his mind has been made up that he wants to go into film and media, which is so risky, when they could have put it in fintech or put it in bio, whatever form of traditional investment that is more predictable. So they've already crossed over in their minds that they're willing to take the risk for the love, literally for the love of the industry, frankly. So then they got to figure out how to mitigate their risk. So I would approach it as a portfolio of stocks, so like a portfolio of stocks, a portfolio of films, yeah.
And on the overall portfolio, what would that return number be? Just
I won't reveal it, but I would say that it would usually be something as rational as possible that we could live with and hope that it gets better.
For me, it's 25 within 18 months.
Oh well, there you go, 25. I agree, yeah.
Let me give you a few sense of it. Normally we'll ask the producer. Let's go to the movie.
Use the mic.
Become classical.
Use the mic.
Second question is, you can make money on this project, and in regard to the specific return, normally for the fund perspective, you gotta have at least 20% annually.
Right.
perfect. That's what I was looking for.
Right. I think the lady at the back had a question. Do you have a question? Yeah. Quick one. No, over there. Yeah. Just.
So why are you doing this?
Yeah. No, she raised her hand, so. Oh, okay, none. Okay, fine. Are we up for time? Yeah. Okay, I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. So you've got the money man on lined up here. So if you want to talk to them, now's your chance.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Leon,
Thank
and
you.
to all our panelists.